Oscar Bud Boetticher Jr. was born in Chicago on the 29th of July in 1916. His mother died during childbirth, and shortly after, his father was tragically killed in an accident. Bud was up for adoption and was taken in by a wealthy couple, Oscar Boetticher Sr. and his wife, Georgia Nuss Boetticher. The couple also had another son, Henry, who became Oscar's younger brother. They were raised in Evansville, Indiana, and later on, Oscar attended the Culver Military Academy. At Ohio University, he was a successful athlete, until an injury ended his sports career. Fascinated with Mexico, Oscar went there in 1939. Under the guidance of Don Lorenzo Garza, Fermin Espinosa and Carlos Arruza, he took up bullfighting, an art form which later influenced his filmmaking. As an adventurer and optimist, Oscar, known by his nickname, Bud, took to filmmaking like a duck to water. In his early film experience, Bud worked on Louis Milestone's 1939 film, Of Mice and Men, and Alfred Golding's movie, A Chump at Oxford, starring Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. In 1941, Bud was fortunate to work with Ruben Mamoulian's movie, Blood and Sand, as a technical advisor. Afterwards, he joined up with school friend, Hal Roach Jr., and worked in various jobs at Roach's film studios. During the 1940s, Bud was offered an opportunity to work with Columbia Pictures. He was an assistant director on George Stevens's The More the Merrier, Lou Lander's Submarine Raider, and Charles V. Dorse's Cover Girl, to which he was promoted to first assistant director. For the U.S. Navy, Bud was assigned as an ensign for its photographic, scientific laboratory. There, he made documentaries and service films, such as The Fleet That Came to Stay and Well Done. As a director, Bud's work for TV and film spanned from the early 1940s to the mid-1980s. Some of these films included The Missing Juror, Killer Shark, East of Sumatra, The Affair of the Three Napoleons for the series, The Count of Monte Cristo, The Killer is Loose, War of the Silver Kings for the series, Maverick, The Rise and Fall of Legs Diamond, and A Time for Dying.
When I catch him, then the reward money's going to come in mighty handy.
For a 5-year period, Bud teamed up with leading American star, Randolph Scott, producer Harry Joe Brown and screenwriter, Burt Kennedy, to make a number of westerns. Each film starts with Randolph Scott riding a horse through the Alabama hills, projects a strong relationship between the characters, story and the landscape, which is providing a precise viewpoint and intention through Bud Boetticher's direction.
Got any more of that pie?
Sure. Sure. I'll fix it, Yankee.
The result of these particular westerns have been branded a title: The Renown Cycle of Westerns. This unique name was made up by fusing Randolph's name and Harry Joe Brown's surname. Screenwriter Burt Kennedy wrote the hero in Bud's Western films as not a guy with swagger, who could show off and appear the center of attention, but with complexity and possessing stoic qualities. It was something which Randolph Scott was able to do effectively, winning many fans at the box office. With inner subtlety and simplicity, terse dialogue, good guys, bad guys, a romance, some humor and adventure, Bud's films reflected what people knew and wanted.
What?
Burt Kennedy wrote 7 Men From Now, with the character, Bill Masters, pictured here, played by Lee Marvin, with a lot of cockiness and flair, which mirrored a lot of Bud's own personality in real life. Lee also had his own say into the character's design, by deciding to provide Bill's character with a green scarf. With Bud's approval of the actor's choice, it illustrated Bill as a character who was more interested in his style and flamboyance, rather than with money or anything else. In contrast, Burt wrote the role of Annie Greer, as the hero's love interest, in which movie star Gail Russell played. As the heroine in the film, Annie was seen not just as a beauty, but with a complexity. In 7 Men From Now, she breaks up with her husband, John Greer, played by Walter Reed, and falls in love with Ben Stride, played by Randolph Scott. Bud was adamant that the characters in his westerns were not seen as cardboard cutouts, but with full character arcs and natures in which the audience can find both intriguing and relate to. The 6 renowned cycle westerns, which Bud directed were 7 Men from Now, The Tall T, Decision at Sundown, Buchanan Rides Alone, Ride Lonesome, and Comanche Station. Bud's love for Mexico proved fortunate when he was asked to direct Bullfighter and the Lady. Produced by John Wayne's production company, the film was loosely based on Bud's life experience as a matador. Starring Robert Stack, Joy Page and Gilbert Roland, the story is about a young American film producer who travels to Mexico and tries to win the heart of a local beauty by taking up bullfighting. The original version was 124 minutes long, but the American theatrical release cut it down to 87 minutes. This was so the movie could be seen as one of 2 movies for moviegoers in a double bill, which were popular at the time. At the 24th Academy Awards, in 1952, Bullfighter and the Lady was up for Best Writing, Motion Picture Story. The other bullfighting movie Bud made was The Magnificent Matador, starring Anthony Quinn and Maureen O'Hara. Set in Mexico City, Karen Harrison, a rich woman who falls in love with Luis Santos, a famous bullfighter. As the story develops, it is revealed that Louis hides a personal secret regarding his young bullfighting protege, Rafael Reyes, played by Manuel Rojas. Even though Bud Boetticher's films drew in audiences, he wasn't considered a mainstream Hollywood director. He made films that were categorized as B-movies. Since the 1930s, up until the late 1950s, audiences were privy to watching 2 films per session. Known as the double bill or in some countries, as the double feature, they were intended to attract more audiences and lower down costs for the cinema owners. In general, movie critics and audiences assumed that the quality of B-movies were inferior than the mainstream, but in reality, many B-movies were top-notch. Hollywood used the same major mega movie stars, esteemed cinematographers and editors, for both the B-movies and mainstream films. It was due to this familiarity and knowledge of keeping audiences interested that made the double bill concept popular for over 30 years. Bud had an advantage in directing B-movies, in that he didn't have to stand up to the tight censorship requirements that mainstream Hollywood movies encountered. At the time, many of the major studios were afraid to push the envelope, but due to the belief that B-movie productions were nothing special, executive producers didn't so much care what the content was, as long as it fit the budget and time frame required. As a result, many B-movies slipped subversive content in their films that appeared to have gone under the radar of censorship. However, not everything was smooth sailing. Having developed a reputation for not playing by the rules of Hollywood executives, Bud's cantankerous attitude, at times, consequently burnt a number of bridges. In 1967, Bud wrote the screenplay, 2 Mules for Sister Sarah, in which he wanted to direct. It was to star Robert Mitchum and Deborah Kerr, who had previously worked on Heaven Knows Mr. Allison. But, as luck would have it, the film starred Clint Eastwood and Shirley MacLaine, under the direction of Don Siegel. Even though Hollywood didn't hand Bud movies according to his taste, he decided to embark on a personal passionate project. With his love for Mexico still in his heart, Bud returned there and asked his longtime friend and bullfighting mentor, Carlos Arruza, if he can make a documentary on him. At first, Arruza was hesitant, but finally agreed. Coming on board was Oscar-nominated cinematographer, Lucien Ballard, with Jason Robards as narrator. Filming started off well, with Bud Boetticher and Carlos Arruza working productively. But it soon turned pear-shaped. On few occasions, the production lost money. Bud was not in the best physical state at the time of filming. He declined Hollywood offers of new films and stuck to his guns on the project. Because the film was a personal work, it took a toll on him. Bud lost his marriage, he went financially bankrupt, was imprisoned, and had to reside at a sanatorium to be treated for a mental breakdown. If things couldn't get worse, near the end of filming, on May 20, 1966, Carlos Arruza died from a horrific automobile accident. It took an entire 7 years to complete Bud Boetticher's documentary. This was also with the fact that Bud's editor, George Crone, also died during the period. Although incomplete, Bud's documentary, Arruza, premiered in San Francisco in 1968 at its film festival. It was also invited to screen at the 21st Cannes Film Festival. In 1971, the film officially made its world premiere in Tijuana, Mexico. Film director John Sturgis financially aided the completion of Arruza and made some final edit changes to it. He deleted any mention of Carlos's car accident and had Anthony Quinn redub the voiceover narration. On May 24, 1972, Arruza opened at the AVCO Center Triplex Theater on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. There, the reviews appeared unsavory, and in the end, it wasn't the film Bud was satisfied with. Of the two appearances that Bud Boetticher made as an actor, were the 1943 Ray and Wright movie, Good Luck Mr. Yates, where he played Hokoi McManus. And the other was Robert Towne's Tequila Sunrise, starring Mel Gibson, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Kurt Russell, in which Bud played Judge Nizetich.
Mr. Bud Boetticher.
Thank you.
In honor of Bud Boetticher's work in the American Western film genre, he received recognition at the 8th Golden Butte Awards.
When Burt Kennedy and I were first invited to form a new company with Randolph Scott and Harry Joe Brown, I was delighted with the prospects of our future and completely intrigued with Burt's truly remarkable screenplays. And I guess I treated these scripts with admiration and dedication and love and affection and kindness and understanding when it was needed. And as years passed by and I finally met the great lady of my life, I was old enough and smart enough to treat her in precisely the same manner. And tonight, for the first time, I realized that during those periods I must have done a lot of things right, because my lady, my Mary of a marriage of 19 years, is still sitting at my table. And this Golden Boot Award means more to me than any award I've ever received, because you're my kind of people. You're my Hollywood.
In later years, Bud and his fifth wife, Mary Sheld, spent their years traveling to film festivals around the world, especially in Europe. He made his last public appearance at CineCon, a classic film festival in Hollywood. Bud Boetticher's legacy and artistry as a film director and artist has influenced many movie directors, such as Clint Eastwood, Martin Scorsese, and Quentin Tarantino. On November 29, 2001, Bud Boetticher passed away at the age of 85 in Ramona, California.